All right, yo, what's up? Welcome inside Executive Decisions with Corey Parson, the Fantasy Executive, right here on the Executive YouTube channel. I want to thank everybody for rocking with me on these digital streets. Don't forget, Executive Decisions flagship program comes at you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. At least those 3 days will get you the flagship program. I want to thank everybody helping out right now, everybody that's already subscribed to the YouTube channel. Thank you. Please tell a friend to tell a friend so we can run these numbers up and really take over this industry. You know what I'm saying? See a lot of people out there in the comments. Glad to have the fantasy exec back. Glad to be back. You know what I'm saying? So talk a little fantasy, obviously, but right here we try to get into a little bit more general sports talk, and got a lot of that to go on and get to right now. So definitely everybody hit that subscribe button, hit that bell to get notified when new content is posted, and make sure you drop a like, drop a comment, whatever the case may be. Help your boy in the algorithm out. We're getting close to 100 followers, so let's see if we can go ahead and get that done before the new week starts. I got plenty of talked about in the world of sports today. College football, the Pac-12, absolutely disastrous. That conference is coming to an end. We're going to discuss that. Got plenty of NFL talk, obviously. Going to start with NFL in a couple of seconds from now. And then also, I talk about the New York Yankees and their situation. I know I don't really get into too much baseball talk, but this is not your older brother's New York Yankees. This ain't your big unc's New York Yankees. You know what I'm saying? So close the show with a little bit of baseball talk, not much, as their sport is in the dog days of August. But I want to start out in Dallas Cowboys Camp because there was a couple spicy moments in Cowboys Camp this week that kind of making the circle, being talked about in social media aspect and stuff like that. And I want to hop in here and give my opinion, give my 2 cents of what's going on out there in Big D. You know what I'm saying? Well, not in Big D. They're in Oxnard, California right now with training camp. And I probably shouldn't say Big D again anyway, pause. Now, with that being said, lively back and forth the first day of pads, you know what I'm saying? Offense, defense, going at each other pretty hard, you know what I'm saying? A lot of trash talking going on. So at one point during the exchange, Trayvon Diggs, all-pro cornerback for the Dallas Cowboys, who just got his big contract, tells Dak Prescott, after a scramble play, Dak and Trayvon Diggs jawing back and forth. Diggs tells Dak to shut his bitch ass up. I've called Dak that before, too, in front of the TV screen because he throw too many interceptions. But you know what? I took it on sight. I saw it. Oh, dudes out there competing, you know what I'm saying? Not too much of a big deal, but obviously the national media took it and ran with it. And a couple of cats did make some good points. Like I told y'all guys, I'm a big fan of Shady McCoy, you know what I'm saying? And, he likes to rub it in on Dak. He gets his Philadelphia fan base all riled up, and he goes head on at the Dallas Cowboy fans, which I think is a reason why he'd be a good fit to be on Undisputed with Skip. But Shady said they don't respect him if you call him a bitch ass, because Jalen Hurts don't get called that. Tom Brady don't get called that. You know what I'm saying? All the greats would never get called a bitch ass, despite what kind of trash talk was going on. Now, I understand Shady trying to stir the pot a little bit, and him being a Philadelphia Eagle guy. The Eagle fans got a problem with Dak Prescott because they can't beat him. You know what I'm saying? Now, with that being said, there is some truth to what Shady is saying. It does seem like it's like an aggressive disrespect of Dak. But Dak has caused that on himself. You can't be the leader of this bunch and you constantly causing them to lose games. Dak, you caused them that playoff game versus the 49ers. Just about every loss they had last season that you were a part of, your interceptions was the reason for. So I can see to where the thought could be cats don't respect Dak. Now, Dak was asked about it. And Dak Prescott is always a gentleman. He's always going to be stately, sometimes too stately. But Dak was like, listen, this is how we get into it since Trayvon has been here. You know what I'm saying? Dak said, I get it started when I'm in the locker room. I'm the one that's clapping and doing the talking and trash. Come out on the field and it keeps going. You know what I'm saying? I had no problem with Dak. And then Dak said, listen, people say, oh, well, you can't talk to the quarterback like that. That's not the way he likes to lead. Apparently, he likes to lead by throwing interceptions. But truth of the matter be told, this is really much to do about nothing, at least on the surface. But I will say one thing, though. If you can remember, kind of towards the end of the Russell Wilson / Legion of Boom era in Seattle, there was some practices that got pretty intense. And when Richard Sherman one time picked off Russell Wilson in the red zone, he cursed him out and threw the ball at him. Now, that's a good fiery competition, and Russell said so himself. But then we get to see, once it all broke up, that there was a division between Russell and that team. Could something like that be developing in Dallas? Interesting. Because I tell you what, the Cowboys got a rock-solid, locked and loaded defense. If Dallas is not in the NFC Championship game this year, it's going to be because of Dak Prescott and really not because of nobody else. Because Mike McCarthy's put together back-to-back 12-5 seasons. That defense is probably the best defense in the NFL, if not one of the top 3 or 4 defenses in the league. So, yeah, they're going to point the finger at Dak Prescott. And now you can see, well, maybe there is some credence to this Dak Prescott not being respected by the defense. Now, on the front part, on the first scene, in the public eye, everybody go along, everybody get together, everybody sing Kumbaya. It seems like everything is going okay. But I would not be surprised if there really is a little bit of indifference toward Dak Prescott in that locker room. We know how the fans feel about him. Go look at a post on dallascowboys.com, a Dak Prescott post, and all the interception comments. So, yeah, he's got some work to do, Dak Prescott. Earn the respect and trust of the fan base and earn the respect and trust of the defense. Can he do it? That is yet to be seen. But like I said, don't just take that on the surface that, oh, it's just teammates talking trash. Because when Russell Wilson and Richard Sherman was doing it, it was just teammates talking trash. Now Russ is in the Broncos and Sherman's broadcaster at Amazon, and yeah, they've let it be known that there was some, tough times between the offense and the defense in Seattle. So interesting to see how that situation plays out. Keep you up to date on what's going on in Dallas Cowboy training camp. Now I want to go to another camp. I want to go to the camp out there in Indianapolis. And yeah, I'm going to get into the running back thing again with the Indianapolis Colts and Jim Irsay and one Mr. Jonathan Taylor. This is truly a fascinating story. Because, at first I was asked about it. Well, how would you handle this as far as Jonathan Taylor goes from a fantasy perspective? Well, my initial thought was, listen, when it's time for the check to be direct deposit and the games to get started, Jonathan Taylor will be there. But now as I'm learning more about the story, I think both sides could possibly be dug in here. And even if JT is there to start the season, I'm not sure he's going to be in the best mood or the best spirits. Now, remember, I told you way back in April, well, not way back because it wasn't that long ago, when JT showed up for Colts OTAs, he was talking, listen, I signed the deal. You know what I'm saying? I plan to live up to the intention of that deal. This is where I want to be at. Indianapolis is my home. In so many words, he was doing the whole player speak when they kind of want to push the contract talk to the back. Well, apparently, I guess during the course of the offseason, he changed his agent, brought a new agent in there, and then that's when the problems really started. And see, the problem is when you have a problem in Indianapolis, you got a problem with Jim Irsay. Jim Irsay is not Arthur Blank. Jim Irsay ain't some guy that's going to, avoid the question, dodge the question, say the right things in the media. Jim Irsay is with all the shits. And he started talking big shit. He basically said, listen, contract is his. We're not trading him. You know what I mean? This, that, and the third. Also, hey, I die today. Jonathan Taylor's going. Guess what? The NFL will continue to go on. Now, people took offense to that comment, but that comment was absolutely true. Knock on wood, if something was to happen to Irsay or Taylor, the games would still be played. So he was right about that. But the question is, what exactly happened in the latter stages of the offseason that brought these two teams to this? because despite OTAs, everybody in Indy says when Taylor showed up for training camp, he was noticeably hostile. He was noticeably upset. So obviously the contract was an issue. Then he got on that damn running back Zoom call. You see, this is what happened to Taylor and his agent. All this talk about the running backs eating out the trash can, the running backs living in poverty, put a battery in Taylor's back. That's exactly what happened. His agent get with him. The other running backs get with him. And he go huffing and puffing in there. I want my money now. Irsay's like, I'm a franchise tag you next year. Get out my face, son. So he was upset. Tried to do the sit-in move, talking about his injuries. Basically wanted to be at camp, not get fined, but not participate. Irsay said, you know what? Play with me if you want to. I'll throw you on the NFI list, and then I'll have you for 2 more seasons, then a contract year. So obviously they're not going to do that. That talk has calmed down some. So apparently, initially, the trade request was denied. But now it seems like Jonathan Taylor could possibly get traded before the season starts this year. This thing is kind of going to a spot to where nobody thought it would go, and it got there very quickly. So after one of the early practices, Taylor and Irsay, the two of them got on the bus, on Irsay's bus, and they had a conversation. They was in there for an hour. That's what the reports say. When they came out, it seems like Irsay was ready to move on or potentially take offers for Jonathan Taylor. So it must have got real spicy on that bus. And let me tell you something. I'm quite sure Jim Irsay can get spicy with the spiciest of them. So this situation right here with the Indianapolis Colts is going to be fascinating as we move throughout the month of August and then we get closer to Labor Day and the start of the season. Could they start the season without Jonathan Taylor? I still think he's there, but I'm not kind of sure what his attitude is going to be. I'm not sure what his mood is going to be, and I'm not sure if he's going to give 100% effort. So right now, I don't want to ever say nobody's off my board for fantasy because if the price is right, you're going to go for it. But unless you're getting Taylor as an RB3, I really think you got to lay off Jonathan Taylor. That's an executive decision to make right there because that situation is getting real spicy. But listen, worst case scenario, Le'Veon Bell already told y'all go get that money. JT, you can act fancy if you want to, son, but you better go get that money and run the football and see what happens next. Don't let these other running backs put a battery in your back because they don't answer to Jim Irsay. You do. And Jim Irsay will have you on the street or someplace that you don't want to be. So I would take that with a grain of salt right there. Don't let them running backs get you all hyped up. That's what young people do, though. They let other people other young people talk them into making stupid decisions. But in the end, Jonathan Taylor, your agent is not going to be the one missing out on that money. It's going to be you. So I would do the right thing and stick to the script you said back in April. You got a contract. Let's play it out and see what happens. They didn't put you on the franchise tag yet. But you want to buy into all this hype that running backs are being oppressed or mistreated. Be very careful with that, right? Now, I want to talk about NFL teams that have first-year head coaches this year and how I think those teams are fair. Now, let's start off talking about the Indianapolis Colts since we're there because, in Shane Steichen's initial season, really right now, things haven't gotten off to the best start. The Jonathan Taylor stuff is going to be something that's going to basically throw a monkey wrench in Steichen's first training camp, not knowing what the deal with Taylor is going to be. Now, obviously, as a head coach, he's trying to hold it down, saying all the right things, but you're trying to put in a new system with a new rookie quarterback. So the Colts, I came into the season liking the Colts, thinking they could possibly win the AFC South because it's not like I don't look at Jacksonville as some juggernaut. But now that they're off, I think they're going to get off to a slow start this year. And then it's going to be problematic because of this Taylor situation. Now, mind you still got a rookie quarterback you're trying to break in. I'm pretty sure Richardson is going to be the day one starter. Best case scenario, this is a 6 to 8 win team, best case scenario. That can kind of turn this thing around and get it going in the right direction after the horrible job that Jeff Saturday did. So I feel as if the Colts, this Taylor thing is messing them up. But I think as they get into the season, I think you can see a pretty dynamic offense. And if they can get that running game going, if Taylor cooperates and they get that six-back attack going with Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor, they could have a special offense and win a couple games. Defensively, my man Shaq Leonard from South Carolina State, he has to do better than he did last year. He's got to get back up to speed. But this is a team that when they brought in Matt Ryan, y'all liked him. I liked him too. When they brought in Phil Rivers, we liked him. Those veteran quarterbacks didn't work out. They go get a young quarterback and everybody think they're going to be the worst team in the league. I would not go that far on the Indianapolis Colts. I think they're going to have a solid season. They're going to get off to a slow start because of this Taylor drama. But in the end, I think Steichen rallies and gets this team in 6 or 7 wins. The Carolina Panthers have a new head coach and a new quarterback this season. They traded up to get the number 1 pick in the draft. They took the best quarterback in this draft in Bryce Young. Frank Reich's the new head coach. Bryce Young's the new starting quarterback. One thing we know about Carolina, well, 2 things we know about Carolina. They play in the worst division in football, so they can compete. They can compete with Tampa. They can compete with Atlanta. They can compete with New Orleans. I think they can win the division personally because, see, one thing about Carolina, they just didn't have a quarterback. Matt Rule didn't do a bad job with that team. They're real good in the trenches. You saw that last year. They're going to be effective at running the football with no matter who's back there. It's going to be a next man up type of thing. They don't have the most talented skill players. I think DJ Chalk could do a decent job. But for the most part, they're going to be well coached and they're going to be well quarterbacked. And they got enough talent in the trenches to win the worst division in football. I like Frank Reich as the coach of the year candidate. And I already said I like Carolina over their win total. And I like the Panthers also to win the NFC South. I think that's a pretty cheap division winner that you can get at plus 350 right there. So I do think Frank Reich will come out good in his first year as NFL head coach. Another NFL first-year head coach is DeMeco Ryans. He's also got a rookie quarterback out there in C.J. Stroud that was drafted early. They also took Will Anderson at the top of the draft. The Texans had a pretty good draft. The Texans have been one of the bottom feeders in the NFL for a couple years now. But one thing about DeMeco Ryans, you feel as if like he's going to change the culture because he's a culture guy. You know what I'm saying? He was out there early in his career. He's been well talked about in head coaching circles as a guy that's ready to get a chance. The Denver Broncos wanted him. They would have had, if he would have took the Broncos job, Sean Payton would still be working at Fox. That's how real that is. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of expectations for this young man. And I think he's going to be able to live up to them. Now, are the Texans, who also play in a weak division in the AFC South, are they going to be someone that competes for the division? I'm not quite sure they're there this year, but if Stroud gets rolling on the right track, I do feel optimistic that you'll see an improvement in the Houston Texans this season. So I like Ryans a lot. You know what I'm saying? Pierce is there now. That team is not great talent-wise on that roster, but I do think they'll be well coached. I think the quarterback is going to come along. If I'm a Houston Texan fan, I feel good going into the season. And unless I completely shit the bed and win 2 or 3 games, I feel like Texan fans are going to feel pretty good about their team once the season is over. Now, the Denver Broncos also have a new head coach. The Broncos interesting because they got the big, expensive quarterback, celebrity quarterback in Russell Wilson. And I don't really like teams that have celebrity quarterbacks, and Russell is the celebrity of the celebrity quarterbacks. He hasn't really gotten it done. Sometimes I kind of get the vibe that, remember when Andy Reid and the Eagles traded Donovan McNabb? And then Donovan McNabb got to DC, and you're like, oh, man, this guy's washed. They got him. I get the feeling that, you know what, the Broncos may have pulled, Seahawks may have pulled the fast one on the Broncos. Like, they may have got a whole bunch of assets from a quarterback who's washed up. So, the Broncos are going to be an interesting case study this year. We know how good of a head coach Sean Payton is. He's already playing mind games with Nate Hackett and the rest of the AFC and Russell Wilson, because really he's just trying to motivate Russell Wilson. Don't think Sean Payton just fly off the handle at any time and say what the hell he want to say. whenever a head coach is talking, they're really sending a message to their team. And that's what Peyton was doing with his criticisms of Hackett. Now, is he going to be criticizing Russell Wilson during the season? Because that's the first thing he's going to do. Because if this does not work, nobody's going to blame Sean Payton. They're all going to blame Russell Wilson. So I think it's going to be tough. And then Denver's in the AFC. They're in the AFC West. I'll be honest with you. I think they'll be improved from last season. But I do think the quarterback's an issue. I don't think the Denver Broncos are a playoff team, but Sean Payton's not going nowhere. I think they're going to have an interesting offseason in Denver. And I don't think they'll lose enough to be in the Caleb Williams discussion. But I could very well see this, next year, this time, Russell Wilson being with a new team, trying to start over. Because if it doesn't work out, Sean Payton's not going nowhere. Russell Wilson to be the guy to do that. Now, as far as the rest of this team goes, the wide receivers got to stay healthy. It's good to see that Javonte Williams is trending in the right direction. So it'll be tough to roster him in fantasy, you know what I'm saying? But he's coming at a decent price. The defense, we always hear how stout the defense is, but are they really that stout? I'm sure Peyton will have them coached up and ready, so we'll see about that. The final team with a new head coach coming into the year is the Arizona Cardinals. Jonathan Gannon's their new guy. He comes from Philadelphia. Oh, man, it's a bad situation out there. They don't have Kyler Murray, and I'm not the biggest Kyler Murray fan. They're going with Colt McCoy or somebody out there who probably shouldn't be quarterbacking in the NFL. The roster is starting to get depleted. This Arizona Cardinal team is in trouble. They got one of the lower win totals, projected Vegas win totals in the NFL. I think this is going to be a tough first year for Gannon and the Cardinals. Now, if you're the Cardinals, you're looking forward to getting Kyler Murray off the team. Should have never gave him that big-ass contract. Because now you got to move that contract. That's going to be a problem. Oh, exec, why you got to move the contract? They just go with Kyler Murray when they get healthy. No, they're not. Because they're going to be bad enough to where they can get a Drake May or they could possibly get a Caleb Williams, and then they're going to trade Kyler Murray because there's no way that you leave that type of talent on the board, and you already know that Murray is not the leader that needs to be the guy for this team. Slighter frame guy. He gets hurt every year, so I'm not optimistic about the Cardinals. But I think the Cardinals will start to rebrand and rebuild themselves next season. So this could be very well be a lost year for the Cardinals out there in Arizona. I think they're coming up on a tough season. Like got rid of D-Hop. You still got Connor and Marquise Brown and a couple of options for fantasy and some good players, Buddha and all of that. But for the most part, I think the first-year head coach, Jonathan Gannon, is going to be in it for a tough one this upcoming season. What else did I want to touch on quickly? We got some more. You know what? Let's go to the college football now. The Pac-12 is done. The Rose Bowl, just about done. There'll still be a game, but it ain't going to be the game that we remembered because there basically is not going to be any Pac-12. What's going to be interesting is the Pac-12 going to be able to keep their spot in the upcoming college football playoff. Now, if you don't know, earlier today, the Big Ten announced that they have made formal offers to the University of Oregon, the University of Washington. It looks like Arizona is going to be headed to the Big 12. UCLA and UCLA and USC has already gone to join the Big Ten. So the Big Ten's creating the power conference. The Big 12's creating the power conference. And they basically have left the Pac-10 to die. And you know what? The commissioner of the Pac-10, his name skips my mind right now. He's to blame for this. Because why would you come at these schools with this streaming Apple TV deal? That's not enough money in today's college sports world. You got to get a better television deal than an Apple TV deal that pays the school out on subscriptions, and every now and then you get to sell some of your bigger games to ESPN. You thought that was going to work? Were you really that foolish to think that these universities that bring in millions of dollars was going to go for an Apple TV deal? That nobody knows how that was going to work? There's been no precedent set on that. So, listen, Pac-12, you fooled around and you found out. Now that conference is going away. Now, as far as what I'm hearing about the Rose Bowl, now, mind you, all this stuff is fresh. It's all brand new. But what I'm hearing about the Rose Bowl, it'll probably end up being, an SEC team versus the Big Ten team. So basically, the SEC will take the spot of the Pac-12 in the Rose Bowl. The Pac-12 will probably try to attract some schools from the Mountain West and stuff like that and put it together the best way they can. But until they get a better television deal, it looks like the Pac-12 is finito. Now, remember we was discussing this situation, the other big college football situation, what's going on over here on this side of the country with Florida State getting spicy and talking trash to the people in the ACC. Now, I think this is going to be, Florida State's not going nowhere. This is going to be one of those things that Florida State going to start balking every year around this time because, listen, this is Florida State's beef. They bring more money to the ACC than the ACC pays out to them. And that can be problematic. I understand that. But here's the deal. Just like I tell the running backs, this was a negotiation that was bargained and a contract was signed with a grant of rights. So now, Bubba Cunningham, the athletic director of the University of North Carolina, said, listen, Florida State need to stop doing all that balking. He told 99.9 The Fan down there in Raleigh. He said, and I quote, I don't think it's good for our league for them to be out there balking like that. I'd rather see them be a good member of the league, support the league, and if they have to make a decision, so be it. Pay the exit fee, wait for your grant of rights that you've been given, and then in 2036, when that grant of rights come to an end, you can leave. You see, and that's the problem. Florida State signed that grant of rights. So basically, they can't get out that television contract. Now, if there was a negotiation thing where somebody could buy them out, that could be the key. But here's the thing. The Pac-12 ain't going to buy them out with the Apple TV deal. So who are they competing with, ESPN? Well, ESPN owns the rights to both leagues. So Florida State is basically doing all of that balking. They're not going anywhere. It would take too much. In order to get out that grant of rights, they need themselves and half the conference. It's not going to happen. So as much as Florida State could and would probably like to shake up the world of college sports, like Bubba Cunningham said in North Carolina, they need to stop doing all of that balking. So I don't really see Florida State going anywhere. We've already had the major piece fall, and that is that the Pac-12, as of right now, is no more the way we know it, and will they continue to be a conference moving on is going to be interesting moving forward. So to the Pac-12, we bid you adieu. To the Big Ten, that conference is strong. Now you got Michigan, UCLA basketball games. You know what I'm saying? All kind of different matchups you can have. College sports is really going to thrive, but a couple of our coastal conferences, the Big East and their basketball prowess, the Pac-12 and their football prowess, that's come to an end. And you got to get those TV deals right. Shout out to the SEC. Shout out to the Big Ten and Big 12 for making sure they got those TV deals and that revenue right so they don't have to go through what the Pac-12 and now is going through now and what the Big East went through probably about a decade or so ago. Exec on the media. Told you last week that I would like Shady McCoy, earlier this week, I would like Shady McCoy to join Skip Bayless on Undisputed with Shannon Sharp now going. Well, Skip announced earlier this week that Lil Wayne, that's right, rapper and friend of Skip Bayless, Lil Wayne will be contributing to Undisputed on FS1 at least one day a week. I believe that day is going to be Friday. You're going to get a healthy Lil Wayne. You'll probably get Lil Wayne a little bit throughout the course of the week too. Now, Lil Wayne's a big sports fan, and I don't mind Lil Wayne talking sports. I think it'll be pretty interesting. We've seen rappers getting into sports talk recently. Obviously, the homies Cam and Mace doing a great job. But Lil Wayne, he knows his sports well. He's a big fan. You see him at the games. He's a big Packer fan. And he's going to be able to sit up there and debate with Skip. Now, this is not Lil Wayne from 5-6 years, a decade ago, where he was all crazy out on that purple drink, drinking that lean. I seen him on the pivot recently. He's a grown man, speaks well, you know what I'm saying? Not all slurring on himself, high on lean. So I think he's going to do a fantastic job. Now, he might be a character to look at, but he's a rapper. You know what I'm saying? Been a rapper since he was 12 years old. Weezy F baby, please be the baby. So shout out to Lil Wayne for getting that done. Now, I do think that they're going to go. This gives you a hint of what they're going to do. They're not going to have one specific guy like Shannon Sharpe or Undisputed. They're probably going to go to a rotation of guys. And like I said, we already said that Lil Wayne's going to be a part of that, right? My guess is LaShawn McCoy, Shady McCoy would be a part of that. I would also think Keyshawn Johnson would be in on that mix as well, being he's out there on the West Coast. Interesting to see who else they bring. Will Max Kellerman do some time? Can that be a spot for Max? I don't know if Max is going to want to work from LA, or at least go to LA once a week to debate with Skip. I don't think he's going to relocate. Max is an East Coast guy, a New York guy. But right now, I think Wayne, Shady, and Keyshawn are locks to be a part of a Skip and Friends kind of rebranding of Undisputed on FS1. You know, that's what Stephen A. Smith did with First Take, kind of like a Stephen A. and Friends when he got off the desk with Max Kellerman and the ratings went crazy. The show is much better, to be honest with you. Mad Dog Chris Russo does a fantastic job. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Ryan Clark. Well, I'm not a big fan of Ryan Clark, but Ryan Clark is pretty cool. You know, they had the big controversy with Kendrick Perkins and JJ Redick. Both those guys are part of that team and do a great job. And now, former Atlanta Falcon, Clayton County guy, Clayco guy, Harry Douglas has been making appearances on the show. He does a good job as well. You got Dan Orlowski, who does a good job. But really, it's Michael Irvin who really makes First Take when he's on there with Stephen A. on Monday. They're going back and forth about the Cowboys. But Michael Irvin still got that legal thing going on. So it looks like, despite really him not doing anything, like Michael Irvin could be out at NFL Network. Now, Stephen A. Smith has said that he wants Michael Irvin to continue to be a part of what he does at First Take, and I agree, because the two of them together are fabulous. To me, his best partners are Michael Irvin and the Mad Dog Chris Russo. So keep an eye on that Michael Irvin story as we get closer to, you know, the big time of year in sports talk when the NFL season starts. I know that they're going to want Michael Irvin to be around. It's going to be interesting to see if ESPN lets it happen. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we got the latest on the exec on the media. Now, before we get ready to hop up out of here and get on with the rest of my day, you know what I'm saying? I want to give a big shout out to everybody. Once again, thank you for subscribing. Try to get us over 100 subscribers over the weekend. Tell a friend to tell a friend. You know what I'm saying? Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Comment, share. Let's try to get this algorithm on our side and start rocking and rolling. But before I want to get out of here, I want to talk about a team that's near and dear to me. As a lot of you know, I'm from Harlem, New York. Grew up on the Upper West Side, meaning that I could walk across the McCombs Dam Bridge, you know what I'm saying, over by Rucker Park, and head over to the Boogie Down Bronx to go to Yankee Stadium. I've really been going to Yankee since I was old enough to start going places by myself. I've been going to Yankee Stadium, been a New York Yankee fan. You know what I'm saying? And this current 3-game over 500 version of the New York Yankees makes me sick. This is a team that's not the team that George Steinbrenner once made. And, you know, it's easy to say, oh, man, the boss wouldn't let this happen. Well, here it is. It's fucking happening. The Yankees, who I've always said were too big to fail, bro, even at 50, people say, oh, Corey, come on, they're 55 and 52. 3 games over 500. They suck. They suck. They effing suck. It doesn't make any sense. What's up with Giancarlo Stanton? This guy can't hit. The Yankees have a batting average of like 220 as a team. You can't have Aaron Judge carry this team across the finish line every year. It don't make no sense. Now you're getting outdone by by AL East poverty franchises like the Baltimore Orioles and the Tampa Rays. This is what the New York Yankees are now. Too big to fail. The Yes Network, the Boogie Down Bronx. You see, the problem was should have never left the original Yankee Stadium. That house had magical powers to it. You go across the street to that 5-star hotel that got cracks in it already, and the team start falling apart. Aaron Boone, you need to go. Aaron Boone probably should have been going 2 seasons ago. Well, he definitely needs to go now. Now, Brian Cashman's been the general manager of the New York Yankees for 25 years, a quarter of a century. Is that too long? Now, okay, we'll replace Cashman. But who are you going to replace him with? He's one of the best personnel guys in baseball. It's going to be a very interesting fall and off season for the New York Yankees because the brand that's too big to fail is getting ready to fail. Listen to this quote. I have to take a screenshot of this. This is the general manager of the New York Yankees. I'm sure some people out there say tear it down and sell. And other people say out there are saying to add something big. There wasn't a big thing to add, to be quite honest, that was going to solve the immediate problems that we had. In terms of the sell stuff, there's certainly a lot of players here that are talented that playoff teams would like to get their hand on. So he's already telling you he doesn't consider his team a playoff team. That's a joke. That's a joke, Brian Cashman. He goes on to say, but in terms of trying to pry that away from us, it really wasn't worth it. It was like, I'd rather just keep it and take a shot. Take a shot at catching the Baltimore Orioles or the Tampa Bay Rays. Listen to the words that's coming out your mouth. To me, this sounds like a defeated general manager. The New York Yankees are a defeated team right now. And I'm sorry. It is time to tear the whole thing down and start over. And if Cashman is not going to be a part of that, it might be time to go in a new direction. And I know it's blasphemy to talk negatively about the New York Yankees, a team who's 3 games over 500, who could still very well make the playoffs. But if they do, they're not going on no run. There's major problems in the boogie down Bronx. Now, with that being said, I want to thank everybody for spending some time with me on Executive Decisions. Once again, I implore you to tell a friend, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. To everybody hopping at me in the comments, glad to have you back. Hey, listen, I'm glad to be back. Let's get it rocking and rolling. We got a lot of winning to do with sports betting and fantasy football and stuff like that. And we got a lot of time to entertain you as well on programs like Executive Decisions. So I got a live draft I'm going to be doing. I want you to check that out. I'll post it on the YouTube channel. We're going to be getting ready for fantasy football. So I will holler at y'all. Fantasy exec, Corey Parson, Executive Decisions. We are out.